Hello everyone, it's Samantha here. I hope you're well. It's Tweak of the Week time again here at the Dancing Soap Dish. So I wanted to show you these autumn themed soap bars that I've recently made. I made these from a solid block of soap and then I cut them into 4 separate bars. There is a autumn leaf motif that runs through the center of each of the bars, and that autumn leaf was made with a column embed, and the column embed was made with this leaf-shaped cookie cutter. As you can see, if I hold it up, it's a perfect match. So that's what this tweak of the week is about today. I'm going to be teaching you how to make a column embed from a cookie cutter. The tweak of the week is my special series of videos where I share with you everyday items and tools from other crafts and hobbies that with a slight tweak can be used for soap making. You can view all of the Tweak of the Week videos in a special playlist on this YouTube channel. Okay, so first of all, let me explain some of the terminology that I'm using to people who may not be familiar with it. This is a loaf mold. This is a small one. They're normally a lot longer than this, maybe even double or even triple the size. Named for the fact that it's the same shape of mold that you'd cook a loaf of bread in, hence loaf mold. So this one here is 4 inches long, and so I made 4-inch long bars from it. It's not particularly deep, this mold. If I show you from the side there, definitely not as deep as some other loaf molds, but I'm going to make it work today. And these are column embed molds. Some people just call them embed molds. So basically it's a long tube mold that you fill with soap, and you end up with a long thin column of soap that fits down the length of your loaf mold, whether it be a short one like this or a longer one. And that column embed is placed, in the center or somewhere down the middle of your loaf mold, and then you pour the rest of the soap around it so that you end up with the design in the center of the soap. So today I've got these cookie cutters. This small one here, this is normally the typical size of a column embed, quite small as you can see, and it would fit down the center of the mold like that. But today I'm after a larger sized embed to run through the center of my soap, something more like this, I think is a good size. This one possibly a bit too big. It doesn't even really fit in my mold. A bit too large, that one. But something around this size here, which is incredibly hard to find in a column mold. To find column molds that size, they tend to be quite small. So I want to use this cookie cutter to create a decent size embed that will run the length of this. I know it needs to be 4 inches long because that's how long my mold is. This cookie cutter as well just happens to be 1 inch wide, which is kind of handy. So I know I need 4 of these at the full width, and I'm going to have a go at making my own column embed using this cookie cutter. So the first thing you need to do is to find another soap mold to help you make the pieces of your column embed. This round soap mold here is conveniently, the cavities are 1 inch deep, and also the circumference of the circle is large enough to accommodate my leaf-shaped cookie cutter. So I'm going to start by making 4 round-shaped bars of soap. I've selected a beautiful blend of essential oils, wild orange, Douglas fir, and lavender. Great autumn scent. I also have some beautiful autumn colored micas here, a gold and an orange, and I have some titanium dioxide suspended in glycerin, which I'm also going to be using as well. So what I like to do is I like to add my micas to my essential oils or fragrance oils. I find that helps them mix better into the soap. You don't have a lot of time to add color and fragrance to melt and pour soap, so any shortcuts you can take are definitely a great idea. Okay, so the mixture I'm using here is 3 parts gold to 2 parts orange, and I really like that color. Okay, now I'm going to weigh out some clear melt and pour soap base. I'm doing 100 gram soaps, so I need 400 grams and maybe a little bit extra for wastage. I'm going to give that a melt in the microwave, and once that's melted, I'm going to stir in my essential oils and my mica. And I'm also adding 4 drops of titanium dioxide because I find it makes the soap a little bit more opaque and really gives the shimmery mica a very sort of satiny finish, which I really love there. So I've just added 1 drop for each 100 grams of soap base there. Now I'm going to pour the soap into each cavity. It's not coming all the way to the very top, so I may have underestimated how much soap base I need here, but we'll have to wait and see. I'm going to give it a spray with isopropyl alcohol to remove any of the bubbles and let it set. Okay, so it's a short time later. This is just set, so it's firm to the touch, but it is still warm and it is still a little bit soft, but obviously not too soft that I can't demold it. I'm going to grab my cookie cutter. It was this one. So the soap, it needs to be soft. The longer you leave melt and pour soap to set, the harder it gets and the harder this will be to do. So your soap needs to be soft at this stage. I'm going to push this cookie cutter down into the soap. I'm using the back of this spoon here just for leverage because those metal cookie cutters have very thin edges which can hurt your hands when you're trying to push against them. But this quite easily slices through the soap and I'm able to push it out the other side, and I can also find that leaf embed came out of the cookie cutter quite easily too, which is good. I'm going to do my other 3 embeds now. So this soap is not only still a little bit soft, but it's also still a little bit tacky. It's a little bit sticky again because it's not fully set. But this is a good thing because that's going to come in handy soon when I try and push all these leaf shapes together to create my column embed. So here's the last one coming out now. And I'm just going to set that aside. I'll use that later. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to line each of them up very carefully with each other and push them together to create my column embed. There we go. Like I said, this soap is still quite soft and it's tacky, but this is working in my favor because it's enabling me to sort of push that together firmly and it's staying stuck together, those 4 pieces. And I've been able to create a little column here of an autumn leaf. Okay, so another thing I want to do is I'm just going to take this last one here and cut it in half and move one of the pieces to the opposite end of the embed because these are 1 inch wide pieces, but also 1 inch is the size that I want to cut my soap bars, and so I don't want sort of the breaks in this embed to line up with where I'm going to cut my soap bars. So by doing that, I've sort of been able to put them a little off skelter. I'm just going to measure this now, and guess what? That is short of 4 inches. I guess it did matter that I didn't go all the way to the top of those round molds that I was using. See how there's a gap here? That is not going to work for the purpose that I want it to work for. So I'm going to have to do another round soap bar. I mean, if you didn't mind that it was a little bit short and you were just going to cut off the edges of your soap, you could do that. But yeah, it's too short for my liking, which basically just means I need another piece to tack on to the end. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, if I weigh out 2 of these, that comes to close to 100 grams. I'm just going to chop these up and remelt them down very quickly and just pour another round soap bar. I only need a little bit more, so the fact that this isn't coming all the way to the top doesn't matter either. I'll give that a quick spray with alcohol, and I gotta wait for that to set too. Okay, so not much longer later, that one is set again, still warm and soft and tacky, and I'm going to quickly cut this hopefully last leaf shape out of this soap bar here. Because I remelted this soap, there's sort of like a a bit of a hard skin on it, which sometimes happens when you remelt the soap. So I'm just going to slice off this piece at the back because I don't really want that in my embed. There we go. And I'll push this out. Now I'll just do exactly the same as before. I'm going to line this up. It's nice and tacky. So the rest of my embed has sort of hardened a little bit more, but this new piece that I've stuck on is still tacky enough to stick to it. Now I have over 4 inches. It's more than 4 inches long, which is fine. So I'm just going to mark here. I left that at 4 inches and an eighth of an inch because I didn't want to accidentally cut it too short at this point in time. So I'm just being on the careful side, and I'm just leaving that a little bit longer than I want, just because I don't want to catch myself out for a second time. And there is my column embed. Okay, so my plan is to sort of wedge my embed in my loaf mold in a way that it stays in place, just by the pressure of the walls of the mold pushing against it. Then I can pour, all the soap surrounding it. I don't have to pour a layer, rest it on it, and then pour a second layer. I should be able to pour all the soap around it in one go. Like I said, I didn't make this sort of 1/8 of an inch too long, which I think now that I'm confident I can cut that last 1/8 off, I will. There we go. So I have 4 inches there. So I'm going to push that down into my mold and see how it stays in place there. So, and I can also sort of see through the sides here. I can sort of see the silhouette of it so that I can line it up where I want it to go. I'm actually going to position my leaf sideways. So the top of the mold here is not going to be the top of the soap. It's actually going to be the side of the soap. And the soap is going to sit, sort of like more a portrait style than a landscape style, if that makes any sense. Yep, I'm happy with that. That looks good. To just be doubly sure that it stays in place, I'm going to wrap some rubber bands just around the center here. That will really make sure, that'll just help that loaf mold hold together. Gonna give that a bit of a push there. Okay, there we go. And now that I've done all that work and gotten it exactly where I want it, I've just realized that I was actually supposed to weigh the embed before I positioned it, because I need to know how much the embed weighs so I can take that amount off the rest of the soap base that I'm going to make to pour around it. So there we go. I know that this soap mold holds 700 grams of soap. So I've just weighed my embed there, and I will take that amount off 700 grams, and then that will be how much soap I now need to melt to go around it. So I'm just going to use the same jug as I did before because the colors are going to be similar. What I'm going to do is I am going to reuse all this scrap orange that I have here. So I'm going to pop that in my jug and remelt it down. In addition to that, I'm also adding some white soap base. And then because this soap base is white, it'll mix together with the orange and just create a lighter colored orange to the one that I had in the center. And so I'm hoping that will be a nice look, a beautiful orange leaf surrounded by a slightly lighter orange. And I'm measuring out some more essential oils, just the amount that's needed to go in that white base. So here we are. I have everything ready. My essential oils ready to go. My mold ready to go. I've got my isopropyl alcohol ready to go. So I'm going to melt this soap base down now in the microwave. Give it a good stir. See, that's a beautiful color there that just came from the combination of the white and that other orange colored soap. Going to add a little bit more essential oils, topping up my essential oils for the new amount of soap base that I added. And again, I just reused that cup. It doesn't matter if there's a little bit of extra mica in there. It's all the same color. Going to give that a really, really good stir. And when I'm satisfied that that's well mixed in, because I do have to make sure those essential oils are mixed in well. I'm going to spray down my column embed with some isopropyl alcohol. Now I know I can't get in and underneath, but that's just gonna have to do. So I'm going to pour this not on top of the embed, but just down the gap in between the embed and the side of the mold. And when I get to the bottom of the embed, I'm just going to give it a good spray and move my soap mold back and forwards just to make sure that that soap is moving all around. The risk that you run here is big bubbles on the other side of the column embed. So that's why I'm giving it a really good shake. I'm spraying lots of alcohol, getting rid of those bubbles, and making sure if there are any gaps in the soap underneath that I can sort of get them out. There was just a little bit of skin that was forming on the top here that was starting to pour into my soap mold, which I didn't want, so I just removed that. Okay, I'm topping it up all the way. I'm giving that a spray and and a tap to make sure I get rid of any more bubbles. And I'm also going to deliberately overfill this mold here as much as it will take without making too much of a mess. There you go, it's starting to overflow now, so I'll stop there. There we go, just get rid of those last lot of bubbles. I did weigh out, I was ultra conservative, and I did weigh out more than 700 grams, so I do have some left over. That's fine. I'm just going to pour that into this mold again. I might be able to reuse that somewhere. There we go. Okay, I'm going to let this baby set. Okay, so it has been a little over 2 hours. And it's a little bit soft, it's still a little bit warm, but I want to slice off this top here. This is why I over poured. I know that this soap base that I'm using does tend to wrinkle on top, and I didn't want the side of my soap to be all wrinkly. So I have over poured it, and what I want to do is just slice off this thin section of wrinkly soap. Easier said than done. I mean, this is quite soft melt and pour soap. It's not fully set yet, and it's still incredibly difficult just to slice off a teeny tiny sliver. I thought I'd be able to use my soap cutter there, but it's really not working the way I thought it would. So I'm just going to settle on my knife here, and I'm just going to use little strokes just to sort of cut it back the best I can. I want a nice flat smooth side to my soap, and what I had wasn't it. So there we go, I'm going to work on it. That's not looking too bad now. I'm just going to run the knife back and forwards over it just to sort of grind off any uneven parts. There we go, because I just want the side of this soap, which is not going to be the top of my soap, it's actually going to be the side, to just be nice and straight. There we go, see? It looked a little tricky, but I got there in the end. Now, this soap is probably it's not fully set, and it's still a little bit soft, just like it was when I tried to cut the embeds with the cookie cutter. But because I want to slice this into 4 bars, I really don't want to let it get too hard. So normally, if this was fully set, it would pop quite easily out of this mold, but it's sort of holding on a little bit because it's still a little bit tacky. So what I'm going to do is I need to separate the silicone sides all the way down to the bottom from the soap. So that's why I'm sort of sticking my thumbs all the way in there, but also trying not to put a dent in the soft soap with my fingernails. Now I'm actually just spraying some isopropyl alcohol down the sides of the mold once it's been separated from the silicone, because I find that just helps the soap to sort of slide a bit. It sort of reduces the tension and just lets the soap slide out ever so slowly. Here we go, give it a good shake. There we have it. Here is my slab of soap, and see here, that is why I put my embed in sideways, because I want a soap bar that looks like that. Now I will admit that my embed is really not centered, and I am a bit of a perfectionist. So what I'm going to do is just shave down one of these sides until my leaf embed is a little bit more in the center. I'm just using a knife at this stage. I know some of you out there recommend an awesome soap cutter that you can get on Etsy US. Unfortunately, Australia is very far away from a lot of places, and buying things from overseas, sometimes geography is cost prohibitive. So I don't have one of those fancy cutters. I'm just gonna use a knife. Alrighty, so now when it comes to cutting my bars, I've got a ball-tipped stylus here and my ruler. And so I'm just marking out 1-inch bars along the length here. And then I'm also going to do along the top as well. And I'm going to use my soap cutter to cut the bars. I'm going to line it up across the top. I want to cut down the shortest distance possible, so I'm going to lay it this way, and I'm going to line my cutter up inside the grooves that I've created here, and then I can see the line from my side going down the soap, and as I push down, I'm making sure that I follow that line that I grooved into the other side, and I've gotten a pretty evenly cut bar of soap here. Maybe not perfect, but not too bad. I'm going to do the same again. Here we go, just push that down. Oh, that started to get away from me, but I sort of made it back. That's all right. I'll fix that up. What do you think about my embed? What do you think about this leaf running through the center? I think it's really cool. I like the size. It's a good size, which is why I decided to make my own column embed in the first place. I think that looks pretty special. All right, so here are my 4 freshly cut bars. Here they are now after a little bit of a tidy up. I love the colors. The scent is amazing, by the way, people. This is a very simple design, but it's simple and elegant, you know, something great for a beginner, and also something that you can take to another level. If you know, for Christmas, want to create a bigger Christmas tree, column embed or something like that. If you've got a cool cookie cutter, you can create all sorts of amazing things with this process and with this tweak of the week. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to check out the other tweak of the weeks in the special playlist. Please like and subscribe if you love what I do, and until next time, enjoy.